Yo, what is going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over all of the Artisan pads and their most current versions from the Type99 all the way to the Shidenkai V2. We're going to be doing a basic buyer's guide for if you're looking at picking up any of the new Artisan pads and you don't really know where you would land and what pad you're looking for. We're just going to go over everything. And I just want to say that Artisan did send over all of the pads I'm about to go over. That doesn't in any way a shape or form affect my opinion of any of them. Artisan is kind of known for making great quality pads, so we're just going to be looking at them from an objective point of view on where they would land for most people if they're looking at picking up one of these pads. So first we're going to start off with just the basics. Artisan is a Japanese mousepad manufacturer. They've been making mousepads for about a decade now, and they're kind of like the trusted mousepad manufacturer. Something like the kind of mousepad to beat. They are the mousepad to match. Everybody, when they're thinking about what mousepad do I want to get, they always get compared to Artisan pads. So this is really going to be a basic how all of their pads stack up, because they are introducing a couple new pads into the lineup and a couple of new things. So we're just going to go over everything. One thing you need to know when looking at Artisan pads, they all come in 3 softnesses. They have X soft, soft, and mid. The best place to start if you don't know where you're going with Artisan pads is always start with a soft pad. Don't really go for the mid or the X soft because they're very extremes. X soft is very plungy, mid is very firm. Soft is your standard mousepad feel. So if you never tried a high-end mousepad, soft is kind of where you want to land if you're not too sure what surface you want to go for. When it comes to Artisan surfaces, most of them are textured. The Zero, Hayate Otsu, Hien, Kou, all of them are textured surfaces, with the exceptions of the Shidenkai and the Raiden. They're the only Artisan pads that are 100% smooth, no texture whatsoever. So yeah, that is it for just a brief explanation of what Artisan is and their basic system of how they do pads. Let's get started with just going over what's good for what. So first we're going to start with the Artisan Type99. This is one of their newer pads. This didn't exist until, it still technically doesn't exist. It is going to be released in May of 2024. And if you're watching this video after May of 24, this mousepad might already be released. But the Type99 is a mud pad. This is the slowest mousepad Artisan will offer, and the slowest one Artisan has ever made. The Type99 is perfect for people coming from a QCK, a GSR, or something around that very slow, controlled pad, where you get a lot of dynamic friction and static friction. The Type99 probably has the most static friction out of any of the Artisan pads, except the Hayate Kou, but we'll get there when we get there. I would only recommend getting the Type99 if you are a tack shooter player, or if you know you like muddy mouse pads, because this mouse pad is 100% the slowest mouse pad that Artisan currently offers, and it's up there with the Wales Riz, with a worn GSR, a worn QCK, a worn Saturn Pro. It's up there with some of those pads where it's very, very, very slow. Next, we're going to go on to the default mouse pad for Valorant, CSGO, and just pro players. The Artisan Zero is kind of just a staple pad where most people have heard of the Zero, most people have tried a Zero, most people have seen a Zero. The Zero is a lightly textured pad. It does not work well with sleeves at all. And this is kind of just your basic middle ground balanced mouse pad, where it works really well for 90% of the games you would want to play, and the few games it doesn't work in are close to none. The static friction is around like a medium static friction. It doesn't take a lot to get the mouse moving, and then when it's moving, you get a nice amount of dynamic friction. Closer to something like a Saturn Pro Soft is where I would put the Zero. It is one of the faster control pads, but you still get a lot of stopping power, and I wouldn't call this a fast mouse pad at all. And the Zero is just kind of just that good middle ground mouse pad where if you don't know what you want to go for, the Zero is just kind of like the perfect mouse pad to start off looking at, and then you can branch out from there whether you want faster or slower. The next Artisan pad we're going to talk about is going to be the Hayate Kou. Hayate Kou is a mouse pad that not many people even know exists. The thing about the Kou is that it has a drastically different X and Y axis. The X axis is as slow as the Type99. The Y axis is as slow or is as fast as a Hien. This is another micro textured mouse pad. The weave on it is also a standard weave. But the thing with the Kou is how different the X and Y is. The X has a lot of stopping power, and the Y has next to none. I would recommend picking up the Kou if you are very confident in what you already know about mouse pads. This is really not a mouse pad for someone who doesn't know what they want, because it is very, very, very different. Only pick up the Hayate Kou if you are 100% sure that you want a slow X and a fast Y, mainly because it's so drastic that in games like Apex, you can feel your mouse kind of getting stuck when doing diagonal movements. It takes a lot more friction to go diagonal because of how different the friction is horizontally and vertically. Next, we're going to go on to another tried and true mouse pad. This is the Artisan Hayate Otsu. The Otsu is like the default mouse pad for people who want a different X and Y. The X on this is a little bit quicker than the Y. The Y is a little bit slower. This is what most people prefer. They want to be able to move their mouse side to side with less friction and have more friction going up and down, especially in games like CSGO, Valorant, more attack shooter games. This mouse pad kind of dominates in games like Call of Duty. I do find myself really enjoying it, but the O2 is my least used mouse pad, and I also did lose it for like a couple months. So that tells you what I feel about the mouse pad. It is a good mouse pad, and I would only pick up the O2 if you're sure you want a fast X and a slow Y. The X axis is always going to be the longest side of the mouse pad. The Y will always be the shorter up and down side. But the O2 is a perfect mouse pad for people who want a slow X, fast Y, which works in a lot of games like Call of Duty, Apex, Overwatch. Pretty much nearly any game the O2 is near perfect in, because you get that control for your horizontal movements, and then you still get the speed to be able to turn quickly with almost no friction. So the O2 is like the near perfect mouse pad for nearly every game, for that middle of the line where you're starting to get fast, but you still want to keep that control. That's why I'd recommend the O2 to people who want control but speed. Next, we're going to go on to Artisan's newest pad. This is the Key 83. The Key 83 is going to be the Hayate Otsu if it had a consistent X and Y. So the X and Y of the Key 83 feels like just the Y axis of the O2, and this is actually a tiny bit slower than an O2, but you'll find yourself feeling a lot more controlled with most of your movements. And I would only recommend this pad if you've tried an O2 and you want something that's a little bit more consistent, but still with that nice texture that the O2 has. The Key 83 is a very fun and unique mouse pad, only because it still uses a very different style of weave, and it feels very nice on the arm. But the X and Y on it are very consistent, and they're very similar to the Y axis of the O2. So that's why I recommend getting the Key 83s if you're looking for an O2 with consistency on the X axis. Next, we are on to the Artisan Hien. The Artisan Hien is like the Fortnite kids' wet dream mouse pad. This is one of the most tried and true mouse pad for faster paced shooters like Call of Duty, Apex, Fortnite, Overwatch, where you have a slower Y and a faster X. It's not as drastic as the Kou. It feels a little bit more consistent, and some people even argue that there is none, but I have confirmed that there is an X and Y difference. The Hien is very, very, very quick. It has a very abrasive texture. Some people would call it next to sandpaper. It feels just like that. So I would only recommend getting the Hien if you want a fast, very textured experience, because that's where this mouse pad lands. It is very textured, very fast, and it's something that I wouldn't really recommend for attack shooter players, but something I would definitely recommend for faster paced shooter players, for people who want little friction and just enough stopping power so they have some sort of control when using the mouse pad. Second to last, this is going to be the Artisan Raiden. The Raiden is probably the fastest cloth pad to date. The only mouse pads I would compare being faster than a Raiden are glass pads. So the Raiden is the mouse pad you get when you want no friction, you want no stopping power, you want all speed. It is super quick, super consistent, and after dumping a crap ton of hours into the Raiden X Soft and then getting the Raiden Soft, it's just a refreshing experience because it's such a good speed pad. Something I could easily recommend to anybody who wants absolutely no friction at all. It feels really nice with most skates, and when paired with something like the Super Glide V2s here, you just get an insane glide that's uncomparable to most mouse pads. And finally, we're going to go over the Artisan Shidenkai. I currently don't have my Shidenkai as it's on loan to a pro player, but the Shidenkai is the fastest Artisan pad that they make. It is a glass beaded surface, but they are discontinuing the Shidenkai V2 because it's having inconsistency issues, and it is having the same issues that the Shidenkai V1 had. But it is a very quick mouse pad, and if you're able to get your hands on a Shidenkai, just make sure you understand that it will wear down with time, and since they are being discontinued, make sure you know if your pad is well used or nearly brand new, because that will affect the price drastically. But the Shidenkai is one of the fastest mouse pads to exist, and I would only compare it to glass pads because that's what it feels like. It is absurdly quick. Yeah, that should be it for all the mouse pads in this video. Like I said, this is really just to help people look at what Artisan is working on. There are a lot of new Artisan pads coming out. This will help anyone looking for what each Artisan pad is and what they compare to. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more. I do have a lot more videos to go over, but I just feel like making a buyer's guide for Artisan just made the most sense, mainly because the Artisan pads are kind of confusing for some people. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.